Well, the 128 challenge is it's for this month only, for June. So it's whether you want to walk you walk 128 miles throughout the month of June, or each week you can spend 128 minutes learning a new skill, and it's basically just to raise money to support the development of youth people like across the country.
Yeah, so on the City Year website, there's some more information about it and getting involved, or on LinkedIn. I'll just reiterate, it's a great opportunity to show your support.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're looking after yourselves. We are coming closer to the end of season 5 of the Student Guide, and we're really excited because we've got a big surprise for you guys for the next episode. But you're going to have to stick around to see that. But for now, we've got another amazing guest speakers, and in typical fashion, we seem to be bringing on multiple people for our episode. So we've got 2 amazing people who are doing amazing work. But as I always say, I will never do their introductions justice. I won't, show the amazing work that they do. Only they can do that themselves. So instead, I'm going to hand over to our guest speakers today, Jacob and Kate, and they're from City Year UK, and they're going to let us. Well, we're first going to start off with just knowing a bit more about them. So I guess Jacob, we'll go with you first. Could you let us know a bit more about you?
Yeah. So as you said, my name is Jacob. I'm currently serving as part of City Year in the West Midlands. So basically, my role is a VM, which stands for Volunteer Mentor. So I'm in a secondary school. I'm working with Year 11s, and my role is to basically just sit in with lessons to help students with whatever challenges they might face, take them out of lessons and help support them like through mentoring and like one-on-one sessions. And then it also involves like break duties and extracurricular activities outside of school, so like football club, for an example, and things like that.
Well, thank you. And over to you, Kate. Could you let us know a bit more about you?
Hi everyone, I'm Kate. First things, thanks to Jeffrey for having us. And I'm the same as Jake, so I'm a volunteer mentor for City Year, but I'm working in Greater Manchester. And I'm also in a primary school, so I'm in Year 6. Similar kind of thing, it's just helping them academically, sort of with attendance, social and emotional development. It's very varied. It's a good role. And we're nearly finished. So looking forward to seeing them off to high school. And wishing them all the best.
Oh, that's amazing. We'll be literally in this next question diving into some of the work that City Year does, because our first official question that we'd like to ask both of you is, what is City Year UK? I know you sort of dived into a bit with the introductions, but we'd like to know a bit more. But then I think also, which is equally important, is what does the work that City Year does, or I guess that you guys are doing with City Year, what does that mean to you specifically? Let's start off with Kate for this one.
Yeah, so City Year UK is a charity. The aim is to reduce education inequality. So they will be working in schools that are furthest from advantage. So the children that we work with maybe have more difficult lives and have things going on at home, or difficulties and struggles that make it hard for them to achieve their full potential. So that's what we're there for as volunteer mentors. We help them with anything they need, really. I'm sure, Jake will agree. They come to you with many different problems, and that can be helping them in class. It can be tutoring them after school. It can be running clubs at lunchtimes, or just being there for them. If they want to talk to someone, we are there for them. We'll take them out of class at times and do sort of mentoring sessions with them, talking to them about how they're feeling, things that happen throughout the day, and what they can do about that, sort of coaching them into, how can they deal with these things that they're having to deal with. So for me, I love that role. I love that variation and the fact that it's not just about academics. I really wanted to do the role because from my own school experience, I felt like there wasn't enough support around mental health and sort of that social emotional learning side of things. So I really like that City Year offers that, and that's really one of their goals, is to help the children with that. So I really like that we get to work directly with children. And I mean, you can really see the difference. They massively appreciate you being there. They ask you when you're not there, where have you been? And just seeing them progress, I've just loved seeing their confidence grow, and it's made me, feel happy, and I'm proud to say that I've maybe helped in that journey.
That's incredible. Yeah, thank you so much. And I think, like you said, there is that tendency, especially, I guess, both at primary and secondary school, that there's, there's not really a focus on mental health or, like you said, the emotional side of I guess, being a young person. There's more of a focus on like academics and things like that. But yeah, like I said, it's amazing to see that, through City Year UK, you're doing this incredible work that's impacting young people. But yeah, over to you, Jacob.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Kate summarized it perfectly. But what I will say is kind of it's almost like a support buddy. So it's like a combination of a TA role and a support buddy. So it is helping them, as Kate said, academically, but then also emotionally, or whether it's to do with their mental health, or even if it's just a simple, like minor problem in school, like, oh, I've had a falling out with my friend. We deal with pretty much everything you can like think of within school. But yeah, no, it is very rewarding. I do really enjoy it. I think the fact, similar to what Kate said, like when I was in school, I didn't have that much support, and I would have benefited a lot more. Like in terms of like my results for GCSEs, I would have done a lot better if I had that extra support. Although I do remember one teacher who did offer me support, and he's stuck. I've remembered him even till now, and I'm sure I will remember him in future. So if I'm able to do that to a student and have that sort of impact on their lives, so that when they're 60 and they still remember me, then like I know that I've done my job well, and I know that I've done the right thing.
Definitely, I definitely agree. And like you were saying, I know there were even a few teachers that supported me through my GCSE and A-level journey. And like you said, they still sort of, their like help still, impacts me today. I still remember all the support they gave me. I'm still in touch with a few of those teachers. So I think, like you said, through the work that you both are able to do through City Year, you're ensuring that, students will have that memory and know that support and know that, that's what essentially the school experience should be like. They should have buddies, they should feel supported, and they should feel that, there's someone in their corner, I guess. But yeah, we're going to go on to the next question, and we're going to get Jacob to start this question because at this point of recording, I know that City Year have posted about it, but there's the hashtag 128 challenge. And I'd like to ask both of you if you could just let us know a bit more about that. What's the challenge? Is there a way for people to get involved? Things like that.
Yeah. Well, the 128 challenge is it's for this month only, for June. So it's whether you want to walk so you walk 128 miles throughout the month of June, or each week you can spend 128 minutes learning a new skill, and it's basically just to raise money to support the development of youth people like across the country. So you can do it individually, or if you want to, you can do it as part of a team, whether it's just a pair or as many people as you want. But yeah, it's just for this month.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, I think it's a really great initiative because I guess one, for both the participant, it's a great way for you to sort of like develop a new skill or to, do a bit of exercise. But also, like you said, the fact that you're even, for the individual, the participant that's doing it, they're able to not only, I guess, benefit from it themselves, but they're also essentially helping the development, like you said, of a young person. I think is really key and is really important. Kate, is there like a link or anything that I guess anyone listening or watching could sort of, do they need to sign up there, or is it just like a online thing they just need to register for?
Yeah, so on the City Year website, there's some more information about it and getting involved, or on LinkedIn. I'll just reiterate, it's a great opportunity to show your support for young people and their development, because that's exactly what City Year wants to do, is help those young people. And it's a dual benefit of doing City Year and the charity that what it provides, because obviously we're young people. The volunteer mentors are 18 to 25 years old, and we have sessions each Friday training us in sort of how to help in schools, but also really focusing on our own development and our own career aspirations. It's a really great way, things like this 128 challenge. And I mean, we've just had a session on interview skills and things. We've really supported throughout that, throughout our journey in City Year, and supported to support the children we work with, but supported ourselves as well. So things like this 128 challenge, City Year has lots of different initiatives it gets involved with, which are really great. So yeah, I'll just check it out on the website or LinkedIn if you want to know any more.
Perfect. Thank you very much. We're going to go on to the next question, and we're going to start with Kate for this one. And the next question, I think, is very important from not only the things that we've heard from both of you today, but it's also very important to us as a podcast network, because at Pick Up the Mic, we definitely agree in the importance of supporting young people. And the question basically is, why is it important to you specifically to support young people? Why is it to support them, whether this is to do with like some of the areas we mentioned, so whether it's their academics, their mental health, whether it's their development, whether it's sort of their entrepreneurial side? Why is it important to support young people?
I mean, I could go on forever about this. I think we all know that supporting young people is just absolutely necessary for their future, but our future as a whole of society. Obviously, the generation coming through are going to be the ones making decisions, deciding on policies, affecting change. And I think schools in particular are such an amazing opportunity to do that. And I think, unfortunately, our system as it isn't the most efficient way of helping people be their best selves and getting them ready for careers and, getting them ready for the world that's out there. So I think the role that City Year does is really trying to emphasize to these children, these young people, you don't have to just be an academic person. A lot of people aren't really great at exams or things like that. So I think we're there to show them that there are other opportunities and to support them in showing them the world that's out there. I mean, the whole point of, with education inequality, unfortunately, areas that are furthest from disadvantage or people experiencing poverty, it's a cycle. And I think if people aren't supported in getting the right qualifications that they need for the right role that they want, or if they're not supported in understanding that there are different jobs out there, different roles, different people, there are apprenticeships, there are universities, there are jobs where you don't need certain qualifications and things. And it's really important for us to help people understand what's out there and show them that the opportunities, help them believe in themselves. I mean, that's a massive one that I've seen, is that a lot of the children are capable and they want to learn. No one grows up wanting to be naughty and wanting to get kicked out of class and stuff. So it's showing them, no, you can do it. You are amazing and you have skills and you have positive things and you have things that you like and are good at. And it's really helping them believe in themselves and really trying to support them in that, because I think that will help them then in the future in jobs or whatever they want to do.
Definitely, I definitely agree. And I think, from sort of, like I said, my own personal experience, from sort of some of the work that I've done, supporting young people if they're sort of interested in the field of STEM, it's like we said, it's they are the next generation. It's for some of the work I did for my placement for my undergraduate, it was all about like giving the students challenges to think of. And you'd always find it'd always be interesting, because you'd find that with each, one within each classroom that you would do the sort of challenges with, but also even like within the classroom itself, everyone's coming up with different solutions for it. Some people, are thinking in a creative way. Some people are thinking in a practical way. Some people are sort of like learning from their mistakes and doing it like a very scientific method and very analytical and trying to, looking at data and saying, this is how we can make it better. And like we said, encouraging young people to think like that, encouraging them to sort of develop those skills when they're young will definitely help them, one, with, figuring out what they want to do, whether it's for their A-levels or even like after they've sort of, university and sort of further along the line in life. But also it shows them sort of the areas that they're both passionate about and the areas that they're not passionate about, which I think definitely, like when I was doing my GCSEs and A-levels, I never would have imagined that what I'm studying at university now is what I would have like then I was thinking of doing like bioengineering or biotechnology or nanotechnology even. And now now I specialize in environmental science and I'm doing a master's in sustainability, entrepreneurship and design, which is it's similar, but it's very different. But yeah, I think it's really great to see that City Year, that's supporting young people is key to the work that you guys do. But yeah, over to you, Jacob. Why is supporting young people so important?
Well, I mean, I think first of all, you both made some very excellent points, but obviously supporting young people, I mean, as you said, Jeffrey, like in schools, in classrooms, people learn in different ways. So you do have some people which are a bit more creative, or some people which are a bit more statistic driven. And it is just letting them know that, look, you may not understand this, you may not get this, but we're here to help you try and find a way where you can understand that. And like letting the younger people know that there are actually different ways about going about things and trying to find an understanding. It gives them hope, because if you discourage them and say, no, you don't understand this, you're not good at this, they're going to grow up believing, I'm not good at this, I wasn't good at this in school, so now, like in the future, you're going to think, I'm still not good at it today, because that's what you've been brought up learning. When I was in school, I've currently recently been diagnosed with ADHD, and in school, when it came to tests and exams, I really struggled, having to sit down in a big hall for 2 hours just writing. Like, I'm dyslexic as well, so it's like a nightmare for me. But knowing that, yes, I may struggle in this one particular area, I've left school and realized there are different things I'm good at and different things that I enjoy and do actually want to pursue as a career. So, and I think also with children and the younger generation, they do carry the world on their shoulders, and they put so much pressure on themselves, especially when it comes to exams and GCSEs. They think their whole world is crumbling. But just, I think, giving them that support and letting them know it is okay, I've been in your situation. After school, everything will be fine. And just actually hearing that from, as a young person, if you hear that from someone that was in your situation, it does genuinely mean a lot.
Definitely agree. And yeah, I think I've got two points to mention from what you just said, Jacob. I think first off, like you said, the idea of telling young people you can or you can't do this is really important. There's I'll say it's the audience know we have a thing called Mic Check, where we say like interesting facts or figures or stories related to the episode. And based off what you said, I think a really good one is there's this speaker called Simon Sinek, which if people sort of haven't watched, he's got a really cool TED talk on like the importance of why you do is more important than like what you do or how you do it. It's about the golden circle. It's a TED talk if you're looking for it, and we can put the link down below in the description. But he did a talk that I saw on Instagram. Someone just put as a reel, and they were saying pilots are never told, like, don't crash. Which, I mean, if anyone's going on a plane, obviously you'd hope that no one's told your pilot, don't crash this time or things like that. But he said pilots are never told, like, don't do it, like, don't crash or things like that. He said they're told, like, have a safe flight, or I know you can do it. He said the reason why is because subconsciously, as people, if you're told, like, you can't do this or don't do this, you'll sort of internally be thinking, okay, gosh, now like there's so much pressure to make sure that this doesn't happen. And then when you're sort of like distracted yourself because you're now stressed about something, you're then sort of like thrown off, and then that can mean sort of the opposite. What you didn't want to happen will happen. So he was instead saying, relating it to children, he said you shouldn't tell your child like, oh, you can't do this, or you'll never be able to, I don't know, like be good at football or things like that. He was saying instead, you encourage them. So you say, okay, you might not have done great today, but I know you'll do great tomorrow. Or, the more that you practice it, the better it will become, because you're then sort of changing the mindset of not that I can't do this. It's just, it takes time, or it takes me to figure out, like what you're saying, Jacob, what's my best learning style? It's like, as people tell you, and like you're saying with exams, I've got a few family friends that are going through their GCSEs at the moment. And, I told them that I know that your teachers have told you that, your GCSEs determine your future. And, if you don't do great in your GCSEs, you've sort of set yourself up for failing in the future. And I said, hey, look, your GCSEs are important, but you don't need to stress. Don't put so much pressure on yourself that, if you don't get a great grade, you've then sort of set yourself up to fail in life, because that's not the case. And I think through conversations like these, it's really great to showcase that. And I think the second point is like what you were mentioning about everyone's got their unique learning styles, and, people learn in different ways. I think that's something, especially when you're sort of going through secondary school, maybe a bit, so I'd say definitely more through secondary school and sixth form, is something that isn't really always emphasized, that everyone's sort of, given the read from the textbook, do the cue cards, you might watch a few videos on YouTube about the topic that you're revising for, and then that's it. But like you said, everyone learns in different ways. So for me, I love doing it. I'm a visual learner. So if there's a really interesting video, or like there's a way to relate it to interesting things going on in the world, I'm instantly drawn in. I'm more engaged with the subject. If you tell me to, write out cue cards or write out notes, while they're good, they end up stressing me a lot more, because then I'm just like, okay, I need to remember this whole page. And if I don't, then, I'm going to miss out things on the exam. So that took me a long time to learn that was my style. And I think, like you said, that a lot of young people don't always get that support. We did do an episode of the podcast, on one of our podcasts, Behind the Curtain, where we literally interviewed someone from Brunel who she had dyslexia, and she sort of didn't know about it until later on during her degree. But she spoke to her university. Her university sort of, gave her the support when she was sort of going into her final year. They ensured that, the exam conditions were the best for her. So if you are listening and you're a uni student, you can sort of speak to your university about support, how they can support you during your exams. They do. I don't know for definite if all universities do it for free, and I don't know definitely if Brunel do, but I believe the person in the episode mentioned that Brunel they'll do a free test to help you figure out, if because obviously there's a spectrum when it comes to learning difficulties. There's different learning difficulties. So they were saying that essentially Brunel can offer you that support. But I'm sure that other universities will do it too. But the most important thing is just check out your university to basically confirm that. But yeah, we're going to go on to the next question, which has sort of been like a recurring theme for this season, because the story is, at the start of the year, we went to this entrepreneurial event, and we really I really liked it. And one of the key things that I think was taken from that message is that a lot of people, everyone basically in life, goes through a moment in time where, things fail or things don't work out. But then for some reason, in the moment it might suck, but then later on you'll figure out, actually, this is what needed to happen to get you where you are right now. So to the both of you, I think we're going to start with Jacob for this one. I would like to ask, can you tell us of a time where something seemed difficult or it seemed like a failure, but then actually, it turned into a success. It turned into something that in your wildest dreams, you weren't imagining it, or, it aligned you on sort of a career path that you're really interested in?
Yeah, well, I'll use this year with City Year as an example. So at the beginning of the year, I did find it very difficult to kind of transition into this back into school life. And I work part-time as well. So I was working 6-7 days a week, which is a lot of work. And especially if you do have ADHD, you do find yourself having like a lot of burnouts. And trying to manage that with a social life, it was very, very difficult. But over time, after a couple weeks, I did start getting really, really bad like anxiety and panic attacks. And then I wasn't turning up to school, or I'd turn up about 3 hours late, and my manager and my colleagues, they had no idea what was happening until I eventually told them, look, this is what's been happening. And they did understand, and they were very, very helpful, offering support and just saying, look, take it easy. If you can come in, that's amazing. If you're late, then that's fine, as long as you're here. But yeah, that was a very difficult time. So I think it's about a month solid, or maybe 5 weeks or so, of just having multiple panic attacks a day, and not getting into work, both work, so with City and my part-time job. And it does kind of, you afterwards, you don't feel yourself. You feel almost like a shell of the person that you were before. Like because it takes a lot out of you, and you just find yourself feeling exhausted and just wanting to quit the whole time. But I stuck through it. I managed to get through Christmas, which, like, that was a big achievement for me. I was like, right, I've just come back from this, and now I've done another 2 months, and like, not long now. And in the back of my mind, I've always thought, oh, should I quit now? I don't know if I can do this anymore. It's very stressful. It's a lot. But I have stuck through it. I'm here. I've got about six weeks left of school, I believe. And then, so for myself, I'm very proud of that. The fact that I have actually managed to work 6-7 days a week for the whole year. I'm very proud of that. But then also, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't see the effect that I have actually had on these kids, of these students, because, as Kate said earlier, when you aren't in school, like, they do come up and ask you, where were you, where have you been? And they do actually miss you, which is surprising, because I don't remember like missing teachers in school. So the fact that they do say, oh, sir, like, you weren't in my lesson yesterday, where were you? Like, they do get very attached. So the fact that I have stuck through it and managed to make an impact on these students, and build that relationship with them, I think that is something that I'm very, very proud of. So I'm glad that I stuck through it.
Oh, thank you so much for that. And I think that's an incredible story, because, like what you said, to have gone through such a difficult time. But I think it is really always great, and it's something, people always say that it's always great to be appreciated. And like you said, even just the students just saying, sir, you weren't in yesterday, like, I missed you, like stuff like that is always really nice. And that's not even something that necessarily, wherever you're working, so whether you're working with young people, or whether you're working in an office, it's always good to know that you feel like, it's always good to be appreciated, and to know that people care about you more than just the role that you're doing. They care about you as an individual and as a person, rather than just another employee, or, like you said, another teacher, or a teaching assistant at a school. People care about Jacob, they care about Kate, they care about the person themselves, rather than just the job title or the role that they're filling. So yeah, thank you so much for that story. That was honestly really amazing. But yeah, over to you, Kate. Could you let us know what your story is?
Yeah, and I also want to say thank you to Jacob for sharing, and you should be proud of yourself for getting through it. I mean, this year is great, but it is difficult, going into school every day, waking up early, commuting, and dealing with behavior incidents and the amount that the children rely on you. It is difficult. And I had a similar experience of where, when I was in school in sixth form, sort of in year 12, I'd moved sixth form. A lot of things changed in my life around, and I sort of developed depression, which was then massively affecting my grades. I'd always done very well in school. I was fortunate that I had a good sort of memory in the way GCSEs were. It was a memory game a lot of the time. So I found it quite easy throughout school up until A level. And at the time it was awful. I'd come home and just be very upset. And obviously, and then lockdown happened for me. I was in year 13 and actually it kind of worked out because I think I wouldn't have done very well on my A levels. But because of my predicted grades, I sort of still got into uni and things. And it was a very difficult time for me. And then throughout uni, but doing City Year has been an amazing experience I feel like even with that sort of negativity and trying to recover and deal with my own mental health sort of illness, I've been able to then help the children, because I think empathy and understanding is so important, and understanding when they're getting overwhelmed or if they're anxious about something or they're triggered about something. It's allowed me to have that understanding and actually change my perspective on school, because I'd always found it very easy. And then suddenly something that was not really to do with school, but massively affected my ability to work well and to achieve and get the grades that I wanted or that other people wanted me to get. So it really showed me that the priorities in school, in the education system, I feel like are wrong, and well-being should be prioritized, because you can't work, you can't focus, you can't listen to a teacher if you've just got into a fight with your friend. Anyone would find that difficult. In a workplace, if you'd had something going on at home and you came in and you'd be allowed to go home, or you'd be allowed to take some time off or things. So doing City Year has been amazing for my own mental health. It's been difficult, but it's also showed me that I can get through things. And sort of really increased my confidence, but also shown me just how important, prioritizing well-being is in school. And actually that experience that I had in sixth form has influenced how I want to go on in the future. And it's what made me want to do City Year. And it's what makes me want to continue living my life in a way that is promoting well-being and advocating for those in need, and often that is young people in schools.
Thank you. And again, thank you for both of you for sharing, both amazing stories. And I think for anyone watching, for anyone listening, I think mental health, particularly like you said, I think, whether you were sort of at school during COVID or you were, at university, whether you're literally just about to graduate, COVID had a huge impact on a lot of people, and the wide range of whether it's to do with mental health, careers, development opportunities. What are you going to do next? And I think both of you to sort of go through all those difficult times and to come out stronger, I think is definitely key. And that's one of the reasons why we do like sharing these stories, is because we like to say that it's great for not only the audience to know, people go through, like, I think, I don't remember where I saw it, but it was this random video. If I can find it on Instagram, it was a random video on Instagram where this guy was basically saying that, they were doing an in-person interview and this person just walked past the camera, and the presenter was just like, oh, this person just walks in front of the camera, that's a bit rude. And the person who was interviewing was just like, no, everyone's got their own thing. They're in their own world. They're not necessarily trying to be rude or difficult. Or, like what Jake was saying, they're not being late on purpose, or they're not, it's not that they don't care about their job. Everyone's sort of going through their own thing. And I think, like what you were saying, Kate, about, the experiences that you went through impacting, what you're going to, like, where you're going to go in life, and how you're going to, whether it's, developing young people, whether it's sort of, as a manager, sort of looking after mental health, and looking after employees and their mental health. I think, like you said, those experiences that you go through open your eyes and make you aware of, okay, this is what young people could be going through, or this is how, to relate to young people. Because, I think, especially like what you said, I think sometimes, comparing from when I went to school and like now, that there are a lot of times when sort of teachers, there's that disconnect, whether it's with teachers or even with, when you're at uni with lecturers, that people sort of don't understand, the struggles or what you've been through, what you're going through. And and whether it's to have people that are, advocates of mental health or well-being, or whether there are those that are always, checking up on individuals and, they notice that there are slight changes. My manager that I had for my undergraduate placement she's very big on mental health. But I think one of the key things that I learned about her is she's always said that, people, when they're struggling, they might not necessarily say something. They might not necessarily say that they're going through, a difficult time. But she said if you're always just, if you truly care about someone, I guess like we were saying before, of not seeing someone as just an employee, but as a person, you'll notice that there are slight things about the way that they're carrying themselves or the way that they're acting that are different and that isn't their usual self. And I think that's one of the things that stood out to me, is whether I'm sort of leading a team, or with the team that I lead currently, I guess, with Pick Up the Mic, or whether it's, any other job that I go to if I'm managing a team of people. I think that was one of the things that she taught me that will probably sit with me for life, is just, get to know the people, so that when they are going through difficult times, even if they don't feel like, I'm at a position where I can talk to you about it, you can say, okay, actually, I've got a free hour today. If you want to meet up for lunch, let's meet up for lunch. We can just, just have a catch up. It's been a while since we've spoken and things like that. And I think she always made time for people where, sometimes with jobs or stuff, people don't always do that. Also, sometimes people are just trying to get you out the door or fix whatever issue, but actually, spending time with the person and getting to know them themselves, and truly, like I said before, just noticing small things, because I've kept on saying it, but people might not necessarily openly or be ready to discuss, that they're going through a mental health crisis or an issue. But if you sort of give them the space of, let's have a weekly catch up. I just, I don't see you that often, but it'll be great to speak every once in a while to just make sure that you're doing okay. Or, actually, I really, even just like asking them for help on stuff. Because I think someone was saying, there was a LinkedIn course that I was doing about, about basically it was just sort of like development, saying that people really do like opportunities where they can sort of teach you stuff. So if there's something that you're not sure about, you could ask that person, oh, I know you're like a IT expert. I've been trying to mail merge, or I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that, could you show me what to do? And when you're open, like you allow people to speak about their passions and stuff, people do really cherish that. So thank you both of you for all these, for both of the amazing stories that you said. And I'm sure just like me, the audience are really, really grateful to have heard it. Mental health is really important to us at Pick Up the Mic, and we love to share resources that can support your mental health. And that's why we are so glad to have today's sponsor. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get you started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live appointments when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't right for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at an affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/pickupthemic. I've also linked them down below in the description. So again, that's betterhelp.com/pickupthemic, MIC, and start your journey today. We're going to go on to the next question, and we're going to start off with Kate for this one, because it's what are some of the development opportunities available at City? Because I know both through my work, but also through someone that I know, City offer placements, but they also offer graduate opportunities. So Kate, if you could let us know some of those opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots. So to be a I'll start with the volunteer mentors. So anyone between 18 and 25 can be a volunteer mentor. So that's straight after school. That can be after doing something else. A lot of people choose to do it as a placement year in university, or I know you could do it after university. So in terms of being a volunteer mentor, you can do it at any age between 18 and 25. There are also paid roles if people were interested in looking to that, going into charity work. So that's something you could look into. But I guess in terms of being a volunteer mentor, I can speak about that from my own experience. Within that role, there are loads of things that we get to do that City Year provide for us. So we're in school 4 days a week, Monday to Thursday, but every Friday there's training. And that can be so many different things. That could be talking about safeguarding in schools. That could be sort of CV writing help. That could be, we did a bit of CPR training. We went and visited a DHL warehouse. But also it's that development and those opportunities. Like we've done 2 qualifications, one in leadership and management and one in coaching and mentoring. And they're level 3 and they're from the Chartered Management Institute. So they're accredited qualifications. And we can put them on our CV to say, look, not only have we got a load of experience in leadership and mentoring and coaching within the school, but we actually, here's a qualification to show exactly what I know about it and to prove that, you have that knowledge. Yes. So there's the leadership and management qualification, there's the coaching and mentoring qualification, lots of different things that we do in City Year on those leadership and development days that provide us with a base to really go out into the world and say, look, here's what I've done. These are the skills I've had or developed, and sort of be able to present ourselves to that in interviews or in job prospects in the future.
As Kate said, with the coaching and mentoring qualification that we're doing, so like you could use that within schools or within teaching as well, or you can use that for other career opportunities. So my mum personally works in HR and she had to do that as well. So that does open a lot of doors for you, but also in terms of development, you do have like a lot of personal development. So for an example, we had our own version of a TED Talk we called them Red Talks because of the red jacket. But that was an opportunity for people who may not be as comfortable speaking in public to have. It was an opportunity for them to have 5 minutes to talk about a topic that they liked and give a presentation about it. And I know for a lot of people in the West Midlands, that was a very, very difficult thing for them to do. And yet afterwards, they felt very rewarded for doing it. And it is nervous having to speak in a room full of a bunch of people, even if it is people that you know. So not only does it allow you to, so not only does City help you in that regard, but we have something called IJ sessions where you talk about your personal development. So like any future plans or things that you may want to overcome. So we had this one which was talking about a dragon and how you can overcome and defeat that dragon. So that for me, that was trying to be more disciplined in school, like trying to because as a younger member of staff, a lot of kids feel like they can get away with a lot more because I'm not older, like the head teacher or whoever. So like trying to be more disciplined and say like, no, do this. And it does help you with like your building up your skills. So when it comes to leadership, public speaking, listening, everything, like we do have regular sessions on a Friday, as Kate said, to actually help build whatever it is that you might be struggling with. So yeah, no, it is a really, really good opportunity, especially if you do struggle with like self-evaluation and stuff. It is a very good way of having someone being there and helping you to kind of evaluate yourself and get more of an understanding about yourself, it is very, very good and very useful.
Thank you, both of you. And I think, like what you both were saying, I think as a young person, it's really good to have an organization that is dedicated to offering like training and support that will help you regardless of, you know, whether it's a placement and you're going back to uni after your placement ends, whether it's to do with, you know, this is a job that you're sort of interested in for maybe like a year or two, but you want to maybe possibly change your career. I think it's really good to have an organization that's dedicated to developing you as an individual and understands the importance of, like you were saying, Kate, whether it's to do with CPR training or whether it's to do with, like you were saying, Jacob, of like self-evaluation and sort of being able to critique yourself, like in an effective and, you know, valuable way. Because I think especially, I guess linking to that as a young person, it can be very difficult to sort of, or not even necessarily as a young person, but it can be very difficult sometimes to sort of self-evaluate and to do it in a way that's not sort of detrimental and you're like criticizing yourself for things that, you know, it's okay to not necessarily be an expert at, but also just to be able to do it in an effective way that you're actually knowing like these are areas that I actually need to improve on, or these are areas I can actually develop on. But also I think like what you're saying as well, you know, things like public speaking, things like, you know, speaking in front of whether a classroom or a big audience, those are skills that are transferable and are valuable for life. So if you're able to sort of speak in front of a small classroom of, you know, year 6 children, you know, you sort of slowly build, the more confident you get with that, I guess, you'll find that, you know, if, for example, you're then, I don't know, next speaking in front of a, you know, your whole team, or, you know, you're hosting an event or whatever, you'll then be more confident because you sort of have gained that skill and are so confident at it at a smaller level that you realize, you know, on a bigger stage with a bigger audience, the difference, well, yes, there's a difference in size, but the difference isn't that much because you'll still be sort of delivering the same message, or be sharing your passion, which is the most important thing. But yeah, we now come to the last question before I hand over to Jacob and Kate to ask me the question that they've got for me. But the last question, and we're going to start off with Jacob for this, is yeah, it's a bit of a personal one, but what's next for you guys? What's next for both of you? So yeah, Jacob, we'll start off with you. What's next for you?
Well, I've got a couple options at the moment because, like I mentioned earlier, I do have my part-time job. So once I finish City year, I'm probably just going to stay in that job for a little while, and then start applying for other jobs in, I'm debating whether to get into counselling or maybe like a TA position, whether that's primary or secondary school. I'm not fully decided yet. But I think working part-time and then just start applying for jobs and hopefully getting into a TA position. So in the future, I can get into a actual teaching role. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, thank you very much for that. And Kate, what's next for you?
So I'm doing City year as a placement year for my university. So I'll be going back and finishing my degree next year. I'm doing behavioral science, which is like psychology, which I'm excited to do, to kind of focus more on, we get to choose our modules. So I'm doing current issues in mental health, happiness and flourishing, behavior change, and I'm taking one of the education modules and doing education, mental health and well-being, because I think in future, that's what I want to go into, and is, I don't know, helping change the system. I think it doesn't suit everyone. And in fact, there's little people I think that it fully suits at the moment. You know, we're all sort of forced to do these same exams, and we're forced to do certain subjects. And it means people get to the end of year 11 and that's just done with the school and with academics and just don't want to be there. And that starts, I mean, I work in a primary school and we see it in year 3, them saying, I don't want to be here, I don't want to go to school. So I want to help adapt the system so that it suits more people, and that people are able to actually get what they need to out of a school, which is, yes, education, but also support and inspiration and feeling welcome and learning about diversity and learning about all the different things in life that you need to survive, like finances and how to look after yourself and how to get a house and things like that. I think maybe policy change, maybe advocating. I'm not quite sure. I know what the goal is, not sure how to get there. But yeah, the next step is finish on a degree.
Oh, thank you so much for that. And I think, like you said, we could even do a whole episode of the education system itself, because I think one of the key things that my lecturers were saying that they've learned from COVID, and I know even some of my secondary school teachers when I was at school were saying it, was that when it comes to GCSEs and especially, I guess, A levels as well, and even arguably all the way up to university, there's, like we were saying before about exam styles. It's sort of like cram all this knowledge into your head, just remember it for the exam, and then as soon as you walk out, you're sort of like, great, I've done it, I don't need to remember it. But my lecturer was saying what he thinks, and he's even changed some of the sort of module exams for the next year of students. He was saying is that he actually prefers exams where they're open book exams, because he was saying an open book exam allows you to give the student the information themselves, and you're not assessing them on how much they can remember in like a 1 hour or 2 hour setting. Instead, you're asking them to think about this information that they've got and apply it to real life circumstances. So one of the exams that I did last year for my master's was a really interesting one on using the sustainability principle that we were taught in our class. We had to evaluate our a routine in our house, whether it was our kitchen routine, whether it was our bathroom routine, and we just had to evaluate how sustainable we were in that routine. So if we weren't sustainable, we had to give recommendations using the framework to say, based on these principles, this is how I could be more sustainable. If we felt that we were the most sustainable person in the world, we had to basically argue why that was the case. And I think for me, I really valued it because, like I was saying, it got me to think about my own routine and got me to think personally about the things that I do, which, for a lot of exams, that's not the case. It's sort of like I was saying before, about just cramming all this knowledge in. So I definitely agree that there is definitely a need for change. Whether it's open book exams, I know even like I mentioned, I've heard like my teachers were saying that when I was at secondary school about GCSEs and A levels, that there's all this sort of asked to remember loads of stuff for GCSEs, and like you were saying, Kate, of everyone having to do certain subjects. But then now, if you sort of ask students those, if you could let me know, I don't know what a formula from physics or science. Then they'll just turn around and be like, oh, well, I knew it from my GCSEs, but I don't use it anymore. I don't need to know it anymore. So I think having that sort of applied knowledge and, giving students the option of, okay, I'm not testing you on how much you know, I'm testing you on based on the knowledge that you've got. How can you sort of implement it in a more personal style? It's definitely a lot more, in my personal opinion, a lot more effective for both the student and I guess the assessor to know, I'm not basically testing someone on how much they can remember. I'm testing them on, how they can apply the knowledge that they've got into the real world. But yeah, I think it's really great that both of you for what you've got planned, and yeah, I wish you all the best with that. So yeah, we're now going on to passing the mic, which, as the audience know, we'll be virtually passing the mic, and I'll be letting Kate and Jacob ask me. I don't know how many questions they've got, but they'll be asking me questions about myself, pick up the mic, and yeah, my journey. So I don't know which one of you, because I know we've sort of ordered it. I don't know which one of you would like to go first. But yeah, please let me know the question that you'd like to ask me.
I'll go first. Well, I saw, because every question I did have, I saw in the previous episodes, you had very similar questions. So I've thought of I guess more of a laid back question just to begin with. But I noticed with Pick Up the Mic, you have like a film session. So I was just wondering, what is your favorite film?
Oh, that is that is a good question. My favorite film. So the audience know that I'm really hard when it comes to like giving like my favorite one thing. So I'm going to do it in three. But there's no particular preference for the order. And interestingly enough, they're all sort of not in the same category. So I think first off, I would have to say is Inception by Christopher Nolan. The reason why I love that is because it was one of the, well, if you haven't watched it, you might have heard it's to do with like time. Well, it's time travel-ish, but it's more they call it time inversion. So rather than, you know, people going back in time, they're sort of reversing against the movement of time. I definitely recommend to watch it. It is kind of complicated. I won't sort of sugarcoat it. It is a bit complicated, and I did have to definitely go back and go on like YouTube videos to break down certain scenes because I didn't really get it. But I think I really liked it because Christopher Nolan as a director is very practical with his like films. So like for example, I know he's got there's The Dark Knight, which I guess if I was to suggest another Christopher Nolan film, that would probably be one of my favorite films as well. But I really like the practicality of it, the sort of realism that unlike, you know, they're using like a time machine or whatever, there was a bit of realism in how it could work and like the science behind it. And I really like that he thinks about all of that. I think my next one probably would be an animated one. And funnily enough, the second film has come out this month, literally last week. But it would be Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's probably probably my favorite animated film, and probably we might call it divisiveness, but probably my favorite Spider-Man film. The reason why I really like it is because it makes jokes on like some of the, you know, with classic sort of comic book stuff or anything of like, you know, we're going to retell the same story, you know, like I think I was listening to a podcast about like comic book stuff, and they were joking like, how many times can we kill Batman's parents, or how many times can, you know, Uncle Ben die? So I did like in the Spider-Man one that they were making jokes of, you know, like, let's start from the beginning and let me tell you about like who I am and how I'm Spider-Man and my journey and stuff like that. But I really did like the sort of like character arcs, and I think for anyone watching it, it is very relatable. But also because I'm like a big comic book fan, I really did like how it addressed like the character that Stan Lee created of, you know, he always envisioned that Spider-Man he said that Spider-Man wears a mask because when he came out, a lot of superheroes didn't, but he said that Spider-Man wears a mask because he wanted Spider-Man to be like, and like for anyone to imagine Spider-Man could be them. Like they see a person in a costume and they're thinking this could be me, or he's very relatable. And I do think of like loads of superhero characters, Spider-Man's probably my favorite because he does have that relatability to him. And then I think my last film would probably have to be I don't know. I feel I'll go ahead and say it. I'd say it'd probably have to be actually I'll come back to that. I'll have one before the end. But yeah, those are definitely my top two, and then I'll come back with a third one as well. But yeah, let me know what the next question is, whether Jacob, you've got another one, or Kate, if you'd like to ask another one.
Well, I'd just like to say I also love Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I mean, just the different animation styles, just amazing. Mm-hmm. I've yet to watch the second one, so no spoilers, but I am going to go watch it. Love that kind of film where it's just so many different things happening at once, and you watch it again and you're like, oh, wait, I didn't see that, like the first time you watched it. And I had a few sort of questions floating in mind, but actually after talking about sort of superheroes and things, I just thought it'd be quite fun if, you know, it's a classic, but if you could have a superpower, what superpower would you have?
So this is funny because I like to say that I've sorted this out with my, I'd say my vast knowledge of comic books and TV shows and films. I've figured it out, and I think personally the best one to have is super speed, because my argument is that if I've got super speed, technically, if I'm fast enough, I can time travel. Depending on which comic books you look at, I can time travel. With it, I can also, there's no need to necessarily teleport because I could just move so quickly that I wouldn't need to worry about teleporting. With certain comic books, you can also sort of travel to alternate timelines and alternate universes. So there's sort of that travel aspect with it too. And then there's the traditional, you know, like I can, you know, if I've got a minute to be to work, I can get to work super quickly. I can sort of not have to pay for a flight ever again because I can just run across water. And, if I'm feeling that, it's a bit cold in the UK, I can always go to Spain this quickly. So I think super speed would probably be my favorite superpower to have. But yeah, like I said, I've always been a Spider-Man fan, so there is a part of me that's just like, I would love to have Spider-Man's powers. But I think in the podcast that we do about comic book stuff, Comics 101, we sort of joked about it that the issue is like Spider-Man works for New York, but we were just like, the issue is Spider-Man doesn't really work for London because central, like within like around like the city in London, like yes, it works to an extent, but he said as you sort of go to the outskirts of London, there aren't that many high buildings to swing from. So as Spider-Man, you sort of be a bit redundant if you sort of left, like the further outside of London you go, you're sort of in a bit of a situation. So that's why I said as well, like super speed works. There are some issues, I guess, like you can't fly, which would be pretty cool. But yeah, I think super speed would probably be my favorite. Which I'm trying to, and I think with the film one, if I was to throw a favorite film again, I think I'll go down the comic route again. There are two that sort of I can't sort of pick between, so I'm going to just put them both as the same thing. So one of them is definitely Avengers: Infinity War. I really liked I love the character of Thanos and how he was depicted in that, and how he was made, I guess, because I think with villains, it's sort of, especially nowadays, it's sort of done in two aspects. So they're either done as like a super evil villain that you're gonna hate and you just won't like at all, or they're done in the aspect of they're a empathetic villain. So they might be doing really bad things, but you're just like, I can kind of see, why you're doing it. So I did like with Thanos that he was made to see as someone that's just like, I'm not doing, like what I'm doing might be bad for now, but I'm doing it because I've got like a mission to save the universe. But I really liked like the build up. It was like all these characters that you've been wanting to meet, they finally meet. There were funny jokes. It was really good. I think, the reason I'd say probably more than Endgame is because I did like the cliffhanger that it left with, that it was a bit of like the Avengers don't always win, they can lose, which I did like. And then, the reason why the next film, which is probably only a small bit, again, because I'm a Spider-Man fan, the only reason this film would be one of my favorites is Spider-Man: No Way Home. I did really love seeing all the old villains, seeing the old Spider-Man, but I did really like the message of it and the idea of, as a superhero, everyone's just like, oh yeah, it's fun because you get superpowers and it's cool. But then it was just like, but what do you have to sacrifice for that? And the sort of balance between, can you try and live like a normal, well, I guess like as a young person, like Spider-Man, like can you live a normal teen or like 20s life, but then also be a superhero? And can you have those sort of two aspects of your life be separate? Or do you take the Iron Man approach and you sort of like, everyone knows that you're a superhero and, you're trying to deal with, trying to just walk down the street, but then everyone's just like, oh, you're this person, yada, yada, yada. So I did like the message, and I really loved the ending of, everyone forgets who Peter Parker is. I'm excited for wherever we see Tom Holland as Spider-Man again. But yeah, those would be probably my favorite films, and super speed would be my favorite superpower. But yeah, do you guys have any other questions that you'd like to ask me? Or just let me, if you guys have got any other questions, let me know.
No, I think no more questions. You've answered them very well in lots of detail. Just to say thank you. Thank you for having us. Thanks to Pick Up the Mic, and thanks to you, Jeffrey, for facilitating. It's been a really interesting discussion. And hope all goes well for the future.
Oh, thank you. We're going to quickly go on to the MC of the month, which, as you guys are probably sure, and I won't go into too much detail because it's City UK. You've heard a lot about the amazing work that they do, the amazing opportunities they've got, the challenges that they're doing. So if you do want to get involved, whether it's to do as placement, as graduate opportunities, as something that you want to, you're feeling a career change, I please do recommend to get involved. We will be talking about like how you can find out more about them as well. So don't worry. But yeah, they're our MC of the month. I think yeah, there's not much I can add. You've heard about the amazing work that they do from, you know, two amazing individuals at the organization. So yeah, I don't want to add to it. I think if you're really interested, please do check out City Year UK. But yeah, we've come to the last official segment of the podcast, which is literally our takeaway segment, where we joke always that we're not going to be delivering food to you, but instead we're going to be delivering truthful messages and motivation towards you. So we've had an amazing episode, and I'm going to ask both of you. I think I don't remember. Well, we started the question with Jacob, so I'll start with you. With you, Kate. But essentially, it was if someone just wanted a summary of what this episode was about, or what everything that we sort of discussed. What would be the key takeaway message you would want to give them?
I'll try and be brief. I guess so. We've been talking about City Year, what it is as a charity, what it's like to do a placement there. All I can say is that I thoroughly recommend it to anyone between age 18 and 25. Go and check it out. Look at the website, look at LinkedIn, look at the socials. It's been an amazing opportunity. It's difficult, and it's working with children who sometimes have difficult lives, and you stress about them, you worry about them, but you also have a massive impact, and you can see that by the end now. We've got 6 weeks left, so definitely give it a go if it sounds like something you're interested in. And as well, just know that things will work out. Whatever difficulties you're going through in life, you might eventually learn something from it and just keep going. I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned this year, is just resilience and just keep going.
Oh, thank you so much. And yeah, Jacob, what would be your takeaway message?
Well, I think Kate summarized it perfectly. But yeah, whether you are interested in getting into teaching, or you do just want to learn a bit more about yourself, then I do think City Year is a great way of doing that. I would highly recommend it. But again, it is work, it is difficult, it is a lot of work, especially with the younger children, but the benefits outweigh the negatives, I'd say. But also, again, as Kate said, resilience, and just setting goals and sticking to it, and just trying to do what you can to achieve. I'll just end it there.
Oh, thank you so much. And yeah, thank you to both of you for coming on to the Student Guide today. It's been really great to learn a bit more about you guys, the work City Year does, to even speak about, favorite films and superheroes too. And thank you to you, our wonderful audience, for coming back for another episode of of the Student Guide on to Pick Up the Mic. Before we do let Kate and Jacob go, like I mentioned, there might be some people interested maybe in applying for some of these opportunities, learning more about City Year. What is the best way for our audience to find out more about City Year?
Yeah, so on the the way to apply for City Year, there's an application form on the website. So I think it's just cityyear.com or .co.uk, or if you Google it, it'll come up. There's an application form on there. The recruitment team are amazing. They're, if you give them a call, they can answer loads of questions. The recruitment form just the application form just shows, I'm interested, and you can, you then go through the process of a short, the form is a bit like, why would you want to do City Year? And then you have an interview, but it's just a basic sort of maths and English, just so that if you were like working in a school, you could help with that. But also everyone's really lovely. It's more of a figuring out whether the role would be right for you. But I would definitely have a look at the website. Give it a go. I mean, if you want to reach out to contact me, and I'm sure Jacob will probably do the same, like we're happy to answer questions. If you want to know more about what it's like to be a volunteer, just sort of contact us.
Oh, perfect. Oh, thank you. And yes, if you like this episode, like, comment, subscribe is always appreciated. If you want to know when the next episode of the Student Guide or any of our other podcast episodes are coming out, make sure you click the notification bell at the bottom of the video. And finally, if you're interested in receiving some perks or supporting the podcast in any way, then please do check out our Patreon page. The link is in the description. But finally, before we end the episode, the next episode will be the 50th episode of the podcast podcast started Pick Up the Mic, which is the student guide. So we've got we did a poll, and yes, we will be having a special guest on there. We'll be talking a lot about their journey and entrepreneurship and Pick Up the Mic and sort of doing a throwback to all the stuff that we've been doing with that. So yeah, keep an eye out. That should be coming out shortly. But like I said, the best way to know is to click the notification bell. But yeah, thank you for joining us today. And we will see you next time when we open a chapter of the student guide. So that's a bye from us here. Have a wonderful day. And yeah, we'll see you soon.